Regularly scheduled business meeting. It is March 14, 2023, 2 p.m. I'm calling this meeting to order. In attendance are Commissioners Matari, Brooks, and Duncan. And if you would please join us for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Sylvia, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Are there any changes to the agenda? I know we're going to pull item 17 because it will be handled during budget season. And so that, I think, is the only change that I know of. So with that, I'll go ahead and take a motion to approve meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes, items 1 through 5.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion carries. And now consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar items 6 through 10.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, payables.
I move that we approve the payables list from March 6th through 10th, 2023 in the amount of $1,018,206.38 and total jury panel payments of $608.25.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right. Thank you. And we'll get to our first business meeting item, which is item 12, financial budget. This is purchase approval of loader tires with our solid waste department. And Doug Goodwin, our, not exactly chief deputy, but close.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Doug Goodwin with Solid Waste. Solid Waste Department's requesting approval to move forward with the purchase of 4 solid rubber tires for one of our waste handler loaders at the Ramsey site. These tires are necessary specialty tires that are used daily when we're loading garbage into trailers. The total price for the 4 tires, including shipping, was quoted at $30,587.74. And the department does have budgeted funds to cover the cost of these tires.
Okay, questions? All right, motion?
I move that we approve the request to purchase loader tires for solid waste.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. All right, and item 13, this is Kootenai County CLFRF, which is a subaward agreement for the Kootenai County Emergency Medical Services System, and our Resource Management Office is handling this. Caitlin or Dorian?
Caitlin Smith for the record.
Thank you.
This is the agreement between Kootenai County and Kootenai County Emergency Medical Services System for the subaward of $14,087 of American Rescue Plan Act funds provided as a reimbursement for sanitization supplies and equipment and medical supplies and equipment and personal protective equipment purchased and used by KCEMSS in response to the COVID-19 public health emergency.
All right, and I will just point out that I am on the KCEMSS board, and I did abstain from this vote of acceptance of this. So figured I couldn't say yes on the receiving and the giving end, so I'll just say yes on the giving end. I will take a motion if there are no questions.
No questions. I move that we approve the Kootenai County CLFRF subaward agreement with Kootenai County Emergency Medical Services in the amount of $14,087.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Item 14, amended professional services agreement for the Cougar Gulch Reconnaissance Survey 2021 on the development of comprehensive historic context with Sharon Boswell, and our Resource Management Office will be handling this as well. Jody, are you on the phone?
It's going to be Chad
Hi,
taking
Chad.
care of this. So,
Okay.
Chad Engel with RMO for the record. So on the 21st of January 2023, the board approved the grant agreement between Idaho State Historic Preservation Office and Kootenai County, which included the consultant fees of $13,165.32 to conduct a follow-up on the Cougar Gulch Reconnaissance Survey 2021 with the development of a more comprehensive historic context for the Cougar Gulch area, and extend the performance period of the project to the 31st of March 2023. The amended professional services agreement before you today incorporates the funding agency's increase in the consultant fee to $13,165.32 and extends the performance period of the contract to the 31st of March 2023.
All right, questions? Motion?
I move that we approve the amended professional services agreement for Cougar Gulch Reconnaissance Survey 2021 for development of comprehensive historic context with Sharon Boswell for RMO.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, motion passes. We are to item 15. This is board approval request, Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, and our Resource Management Office. Chad, you again?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Chad Engel with RMO for the record again. This is one of our plans that has to be reviewed annually. It is updated with any operational changes and also regulatory requirements. We are asking your approval of the current version, and legal has reviewed and approved this plan.
Okay, questions? Motion?
No questions. I move that we approve the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan dated February 2nd, 2023.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Item 16, board approval request, Challenge Paper Cutter Purchase. And this is our Reprographics Center, and our director over there, David Reed, go ahead.
David Reed, Graphics Mill Center. Commissioners, I'm coming before you to get approval to purchase a cutter that I did not budget for, but I feel I have funds within the budget to cover it. It's going to be roughly around $24,000. The folder was purchased, the cutter was purchased in 1997, so it's 26 years old. Currently, I put $1,500 into it with no luck on getting it fixed. We're looking at another $2,500, and that might fix it. We're not sure. But then the two hydraulic cylinders are leaking, and it goes out of service in 26 for parts and service. So I don't want to invest a lot more money into it. And then 2 years down the road, we're going to have to get a new one anyway. So I'd rather get it now than later. And I think it's well worth to spend the money now than to try to fix it and just link along,
Sure. And how often is this cutter used?
We use the cutter daily.
Okay.
Yeah. Currently, it doesn't have a back gauge, so we got the blade working, but not the whole functioning, to where we're trying to keep things straight by putting a little shim in the back, but it's kind of hard to cut business cards straight and a few other things. It just doesn't work.
Okay. And then you have B budget money for this. And so the auditor will need to transfer that to the C. So if you would get with them and let them know what line item that's coming from, so we can get it into its proper category.
I can do that.
Okay, questions? All right. Motion.
Nope.
I move that we approve the request for a paper cutter for reprographics.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right. Item 17 has been pulled. Thank you, David. And item 18, request to display signage, our coroner's office, and here we have Chief Deputy Lynn Acevedo.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thanks for having me. So basically, this is just a request to keep our door locked every day, all day, mainly in light of the First Amendment audits conversation and the class, I guess, that we all took on the First Amendment audit. Dr. Duke feels that this office has a lot of confidentiality paperwork laying in plain sight because our offices are downstairs and upstairs as well as it's kind of a safety issue when we have the sex offenders registration right there at the same door. They often walk in, as well as people from the jail that just kind of randomly walk the campus every once in a while. So he would just like to be able to keep that door shut and with signage that states authorized personnel only, something along those lines.
Okay. Questions?
No questions.
All right. Motion?
I move that we approve the request to display signage at the coroner's office.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 19, COLA calculation for FY24 budget, and it has Jennifer on here, but Brandy, you will lead us in this?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brandy Falcon for the record. In our budget kickoff meeting, can you hear me?
Yes.
In our budget kickoff meeting, Commissioner Brooks was absent, and so Commissioners Matari and Duncan had instructed me to not do a COLA calculation at this time. Commissioner Brooks later asked me to do so. After discussing with Clerk Locke, we remembered we need 2 out of 3 commissioners to move forward on decisions in the budget cycle, so I'm bringing the issue back to you to get direction while all 3 of you are here at one time. But I just can't, I don't want to do the COLA calculation unless I have 2 of 3 commissioners, so I'm here for your direction.
All right. Bill, did you want to?
Sure, I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the most important votes that I've made in 4 years at the county is last year's COLA, 6%?
Yep.
I've had more people call me as recently as a week ago thanking me for that, because inflation is eating people alive. Gas, housing, all kinds of horrible things. The things we all rely on, they're going through the roof. And they go down some days and up other days, but it's generally the trend is up. And if we don't have a cost of living allowance, not a raise, a cost of living allowance, our employees fall behind. And as they fall behind, as our wages fall behind, the likelihood that somebody wants to come work for Kootenai County becomes less and less. This is especially true in the areas of law enforcement. That's just hard to find people already. And if we're not keeping up, we are falling behind. So I believe what we need is a COLA of about 8% this year. Very important. I'd like to see the numbers on that. I don't want to balance our budget on the backs of the employees, and the taxpayers have had enough, but they understand inflation.
Okay.
All right. Bruce?
Well, I think the intent here was to just try to keep different numbers from being carved out. And in the end, what matters is what people take home in their paycheck. And so we're just trying to come up with a way that we can kind of count on some numbers moving forward so that we can kind of project out a little bit more and not kind of carve out all these separate steps and COLAs and things like that, because over time, at least from my observation, they seem to have been abused a little bit just with what gets frozen this year, and eventually as time goes by, it kind of looks unrecognizable as far as what employees can expect in the coming years. And so that was really the intent, was just to try to find a single number that we could work with and move forward.
I don't feel like I need the COLA calculation at this point, just because I want to focus on steps this year. I want to see if not only can we fund all matrix at least one step, but get some of the people who are not on the correct step to the right place. And I think that's one of the calculations that we asked for in the budget meeting. So I'd like to focus on that this year. So are you wanting the COLA calculation or just the steps?
I'm less concerned about the COLA calculation as much as just where the steps end up and what people ultimately end up with on their paycheck. I think that's important. And there was even discussion of just looking at steps as being an annual or an anniversary type increment, with a COLA kind of being looked at from the perspective of reevaluating the jobs to make sure that the pay is commensurate with the job at this, in this marketplace. And so those would occur periodically.
Okay. So I'm hearing 2 out of 3 commissioners a no on the COLA calculation for now. I assume if you want to revisit that later, that we can do, that you'll let me know.
Yep.
I'll do the calculation for the steps for everybody, and HR will do the analysis on employees that may be on too low of a step based on years in position.
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
All right. Okay, item 20 is advisory board appointment, and this is Don Bradway for the Noxious Weed Advisory Board, and term expiring 12/31 of 2024. Noxious weeds typically has multiple openings, and this is a person willing to serve who has experience, who has property and experience with noxious weeds. So did I get it all, Jonathan? Okay, any questions?
No questions.
All right, and actually, Mr. Bradway also serves on our impact fee committee too, so that's good. Then I would take a motion.
I move that we appoint Don Bradway to the Noxious Weed Board for a term expiring 12/31/24.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, motion carries. I think we can handle items 21 and 22 together. It's resolution numbers 2023-32 and -33, classify and destroy records for our KCSO department. And Bridget, you're on the line?
Great, Bridget Gerns for the record. Yes, I'm requesting approval from the board for items of destruction that have met or exceeded the required retention period. We have a substantial amount of records that just need to be destroyed.
All right, questions, motion?
I move that we approve the resolution 2023-32 for KCSO to classify the records, and then resolution 2023-33 for KCSO to destroy the records.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari,
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, all right, motion carries. Thank you. Item 23, Resolution 2023-35, which is approval of revised unpaid personal time off policy 321. And Sylvia, go ahead.
Sylvia Proud for the record. At our February 16, 2023 HR meeting, revisions to the unpaid personal time off policy number 321 were presented to the board, basically outlining that if employees who work more than 8 hours a day could use unpaid leave to offset, like if they're on a 10-hour shift, 2 hours, and they did not have to totally exhaust vacation and comp time before that was allowable. So we incorporated that into the policy. And there was also another condition that was met, that if an employee has a balance of 200 or more hours of accrued vacation, they were not eligible to use unpaid leave, so that we didn't get into that situation where at the end of the year, if they exceeded 240 hours, they would lose those hours. So that was presented to the board and unanimously approved, and so we're just formalizing it with the board. It would be, we did make it, the request was to make it effective February 16th because the Martin Luther King holiday No,
that was
President's Day.
Day. Yeah.
President's Day was that following Monday.
All right, so we should include February 16th, 23 as the official date. Questions? All right, motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 2023-35 for the revised unpaid personal time off per policy 321,
I second the motion.
Effective February.
effective February 16th, 2023.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, all right, motion carries, thank you. Item 24, Resolution 2023-37, and this is surplus transit vehicles and equipment with our Resource Management Office. And Mr. Engel, you're still on the line?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Chad Engel, RMO for the record again. We are seeking approval for the resolution of surplus vehicles and equipment. This will allow us to transfer 3 vehicles to the Coeur d'Alene tribe and 4 vehicles to be sold at public auction. These assets have no further use to the county, and we would like them moved into surplus in order for us to properly dispose of the assets. And again, legal has reviewed this resolution.
All right, questions and motion?
I move that we approve Resolution 2023-37, surplus vehicles and equipment transfer for RMO.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Chad. Item 25, Resolution 2023-38, and this is the resolution for the treasurer and chief deputy treasurer to waive penalties and interest for our treasurer's office, and I will let Chief Deputy Smith fill us in.
Jill Smith for the record. This is an ongoing resolution that we're putting in front of this board because it's a new board. You have historically given us the authority to waive up to, I think it was $500 in interest and penalties. We've increased that amount because it hadn't been adjusted in years. And we are to report out what we waive. We've added a threshold where if we waive less than 100, we don't report it, because if we're reporting every time we waive $5, you're going to be very busy reviewing our spreadsheet.
All right, questions?
No questions. I move that we approve Resolution 2023-38 for the treasurer and chief deputy treasurer to waive up to $1,000 the penalty and interest.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Matari.
Aye.
Chair Duncan.
Aye. All right, thank you. Motion carries. And now to our status update pending list. And with facilities expansion, we are still having the meeting on March 16th to review what Boughton Construction has found out. So any questions? Okay.
Nope.
And impact fees.
I've been, working with Ann from our consultant's office and Westcott and Pat Braden, and I'm mostly standing on the sidelines while they determine the best way to go about presenting impact fees to the rest of the county. And that hasn't been decided yet.
Okay, any questions?
No questions.
All right. With that, I will call for public comment. All right, hearing none, 2:23, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.